Hello everyone, welcome back to a Walking Dead The Ones Who Live video here on the channel. In this video we're going to be talking about the Carl reference, and man, it was so good. Let's get into it. You know, Carl was one of those characters that people either loved or didn't, and I was in the camp of loving Carl. He was one of my favorite characters, just behind Rick. And when they killed him off, it was, you know, it really made me mad. And you know, I never really understood why they did it the way they did it, and I would love to have seen Carl continue. And you know, he could have been so good in so many scenes after he you know, they killed him off. And you know, I really think now he would have even been with Michonne coming to find Rick, which, you know, would have been what, you know, it really would have made things harder, because, you know, it's hard just Michonne, but with another character, you know, coming along on this adventure, kind of just the things they have to do. I mean, and would Carl even have made it through the bombs, you know, the gas bombs? Yeah, I mean, that would have been sad to see him go that way too. But they did find a way to bring him back, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video, because I didn't expect it. It really it surprised me, and I'm going to be honest, I teared up just in that scene. So let's talk about the scene, kind of break it down, and yeah, let's just talk about it. So before we can actually get into that scene, we need to talk a little bit about what happened before that. So Rick makes his plan to get Michonne out, and she goes through the plan, and she gets to where they would escape together. What she thought was going to happen was they were going to escape together, but Rick had actually laid out a plan where Michonne would escape, and he would have to stay behind because he understands they both can't get away. Michonne doesn't leave, and the next time her and Rick have the opportunity to talk, he says something incredibly stupid about how she should have just left if she loved him, and it's like he forgot who he was talking to. And Michonne is obviously mad, and she just happens to be able to go into the city right after that. So Michonne gets off the bus, and she's in this part, there's a voiceover where Michonne is talking to Judith about how she could have left, and you know, and she's talking about Nat, how Nat told her to know when to leave, and maybe she should have, but you know, she knows better than that. She can't leave without Rick. In the voiceover, Michonne says something like, just when she thought that Rick could have been sucked in by the allure of the place, she saw something. And I thought that was kind of silly. Like, Rick would replace Michonne and Judith with wool supply and french fries. I mean, come on. But, you know, as silly as I thought that comment was, this does set up a really emotional scene. It was an incredible scene. And, yeah, it's one that had me actually teared up and crying a little bit. So Michonne says, just as she was starting to think that about Rick, she found something. And what she found was the artist who did the portrait on the phone that she found to help her find Rick. I mean, that's how she knew he was alive, his boots in this phone. And, yeah, so that's what she held on to the whole time that she was looking for him. So Michonne says to the artist, you're the one who drew me. And he remembers her right away. You know, he knows that he drew her, and he drew Judith. And then he says something which really surprised me. He talks about the boy, and how he could never quite get the image right for Rick. And it was just so cool to hear a callback to Carl, who, you know, who's been gone for so long that, you know, I really didn't even think about Carl. You know, I didn't even think that they would bring Carl up in this. I don't know why I didn't think they would, but it was just so neat to hear this character bring up Carl. It was just, yeah, it really made this scene kind of over the top for me. Just such a good scene. And Michonne happens to find this character at the perfect time, just as she's starting to have second thoughts about Rick and everything. This character tells Michonne that Rick came back every so often for a new portrait of her. He said it was always you and the girl, and that he wanted this picture of her because he was gonna like, and he says he always believed he would see you again. But then he also mentions that Rick just stopped coming. And so yeah, that was around the time that Rick really just lost, I think he just lost all hope, and he was just completely broken. I mean, we see that he's about to commit suicide in the first episode. You know, and I think for the first time, this really gives Michonne a window into Rick's mental state. This is a very dark Rick. This is a Rick who's been through so much defeat, and all he wanted was to see her again and see Judith again, but he was just over and over defeated. And he just, you know, he's so miserable in this life, and he had just lost hope. He had lost all hope. And, you know, that's right about then when I think the tears were building up in my eyes when they talked about Carl. And I think those tears started to run down my cheeks whenever they talked about how Rick came back and wanted more pictures of her until he could see her again. You know, that was just such a touching scene. It's, you know, it's very romantic too, you know, and it's just how we kind of hear in that one statement just how Rick breaks down, and how he goes from the Rick we knew to this Rick. And the artist says that he told Rick, and Michonne cuts him off. She says, "I know what you told him." And they're talking about the belief a little bit longer. And Michonne tells the artist, you helped me. And it helped Michonne. That was kind of like, after Nat told her that was kind of like her mantra, I would think, that just believe a little bit longer, believe a little bit longer. And then the artist says, "But see, he found you." And did he find her? Well, they kind of found each other. It doesn't really matter. But Michonne is still looking for her Rick. She found a Rick, but she didn't find her Rick quite yet. And Michonne says, "Now I need to find him." And of course, she's talking about she needs to find the Rick that she lost, the Rick that we all know is still there. But her Rick and our Rick have just been beaten down by this situation that they're in. And before we go on, I want to talk about just how incredible Danai was in this scene. I mean, she has these big, beautiful brown eyes, and she told so much story with those eyes in this scene. It was just amazing. When we see her with the tears starting to form in her eyes, she's just good. She conveyed so much emotion just with her eyes in this scene. It was just incredible. So guys, that's kind of my breakdown of the scene. That's really all I have to say about it. But now I want to know what you think. Did you enjoy this scene? Did it touch you as much as it touched me? What did you think about the Carl reference? Were you happy to hear them talk about Carl? I know I was. Let me know what you guys think about all this stuff in the comments. If you haven't already, please consider giving the channel a sub. That way you don't miss any of my Walking Dead content, or any of the other content that I do for that matter. And guys, I will see you in the next video.